friends, and welcome back to my channel. This is, I think, is my first video I've posted since I've become a married woman, which has been so crazy and so cool. But it's been a very busy and hectic month, which is kind of why I've just been like taking it all in, doing all the things, and just kind of getting our lives back together. So now that we're back and things have kind of settled down a lot, I'm going to do a Q&A talking all about our wedding weekend and the different questions that I've gotten about it, and just kind of share with you the experience, what I liked, what I didn't like, and just kind of take you through our wedding weekend. I went to Instagram and asked you guys if you had any questions specifically, and if you don't follow me on Instagram, you should. It is just Hannah. Oh my gosh, I forget my new Instagram handle. I changed it since I am now a new woman. It is Hannah Louise or hannah.l.bell. I changed my name. So anyway, I asked you guys on Instagram if you had any questions for me or things you want to know about our wedding weekend. So I have some of those I'm going to answer, and also just some other questions that I've gotten since our wedding. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. First of all, for those of you that are new here, welcome. But also, we got married on April 29th of 2022, so a little bit over a month ago. Like a month and a half ago now. I forget what day today is, but I think it's like a month and a half now we've been married. Things have been awesome, and it was also on a Friday, and I will also say that it was up in Pennsylvania. Right now my husband and I live in North Carolina, but we're both from Pennsylvania, so we chose to do it up there just out of like convenience basically. For everybody else, we are the only people down here in North Carolina. All of our friends and family are up north or like somewhere else in the country, so it just kind of made more sense to do it back up there. The first question is, what was like the schedule of the weekend? So I'm going to say the weekend because I'm going to include like our rehearsal dinner and our wedding, all the festivities that we had. So basically, we got married on a Friday, and so our rehearsal and rehearsal dinner were on the Thursday before. So on the 28th of April, we had our rehearsal at about like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and honestly, our venue set that up for us. They just kind of said, hey, will this date and time work for you? Yeah, sure. So we made it there. That was about an hour, and then I think we gave ourselves like an hour in between the end of the rehearsal to when the dinner started so that people could commute, they could change if they needed to, whatever they wanted to do. So we had a rehearsal. Then about an hour after that, we had our dinner at about 6 o'clock, and we invited all of our out-of-town guests. It was really awesome. If you have any specific questions about the rehearsal dinner, the planning of all of that, whatever, comment your questions down below or DM me on Instagram, and I'd be happy to answer them as well. But anyway, so we did that, and then after that, we didn't like make any plans to like go out that night or anything. We just kind of wanted to see how we were feeling, wanted to make sure we were going to be well rested for the next day. So that was really the end of our Thursday night. Friday came, and that's obviously wedding day, so we spent the whole day getting ready, and then our actual ceremony started at 4 or 4:30, I think it was 4:30. So then we had the ceremony, cocktail hour, reception, and that ended at about 10. And then we did kind of organize a little after party, which was just actually back at our hotel. They kept the bar open pretty late so that people could just come back. It was safe, people weren't going to be driving and drinking, and it was just like a nice little place to gather since a lot of people were staying at the hotel that we had a block at. So that was really the big plans that we had for the weekend, our big schedule, I guess, if you will. I am going to insert somewhere on the screen here, though, a little clip of our wedding weekend timeline. I went into like strict detail that I gave this to everybody in our wedding party, so that they knew where they needed to be at what time on like the actual like Thursday and Friday basically. I found that this really helped with like confusion. It was also really nice for my bridal party, like the girls specifically, because a lot of them are moms and a lot of them had kids to like tend to. So instead of me telling them they needed to be there like super early in the morning and just hang out all day with me, I knew that they had other stuff to do, and I didn't really want to interrupt like their schedules, because I knew if their kids were grumpy, then the wedding was going to be a little more of a hot mess. So we wanted to make sure everybody was happy and well rested and got what they needed. So the schedule really helped with like the girls knowing what time their hair appointment was or their makeup, so they knew like when they needed to be there and when they could like go tend to their kids or do something else that they needed to do. So all right, that was a really long answer, so I'm going to try to speed it up a little bit here. But the next question that I got was, why did we choose a Friday wedding? Honestly, the biggest reason was that we were like very limited to months that we wanted to have our wedding in, and that was just totally like personal choices, personal opinions. We had specific months we wanted to use, and the weekends or the Saturdays that were available were very minimal as well, and so we just kind of decided, let's do a Friday. It was also cheaper, so if you're looking for somewhere to cut back in your budget, a lot of times Fridays are a little bit cheaper, just because it's not as like desirable to have a Friday wedding, I guess, but we found it to be a little bit cheaper, and it just happened to be like the date that worked out best for us. Okay, the next question I got was, what did you like and also didn't like about your venue? I will say that our venue, so we got married in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So the venue we got married at was called the Barn at Silverstone, and I will have them linked down below. We have all actually thought long and hard about like things that we liked and didn't like about our wedding. I mean, everyone's going to be critical. You're always going to get those people that say that like they didn't like something, and I'm sure there are people out there who are thinking that there was something that they wish was different, but it's just everyone's personal opinion. Honestly though, me, George, and our immediate family, like, all the feedback that we've gotten has been so positive, and honestly there's just not anything that I can think of that I didn't like about our venue. And I know that that's crazy to say, but I cannot pinpoint anything. I felt like they were the most perfect, like, put together people, because the venue came with the catering, they were all part of the venue, so all the bartenders, the servers, the setup, the teardown, they did it all. I mean, anything you could have wanted and dreamed of, like, they were gonna do it, and they were making sure that we had the best day ever. They were so organized, so professional, and I truly just can't think of anything that I didn't like. So the things that I did like, everything, but the biggest part of it, I think, was that they were so organized. I mean, we had to do literally nothing besides show up. We met ahead of time, so they asked all the questions that they wanted to ask. I mean, they had maps where they wrote on everything, like where every little sign and every little flower was gonna go, and they did the table. Well, I worked on the table seating, but they used a really nice website to help, and we met ahead of time and figured out all the fine details, and they asked every little question that I wouldn't have even thought of in a million years, just because they knew that on my wedding day I wasn't gonna wanna be bothered, and they didn't wanna come bother me, so they needed to know everything, and they did. And they just made it like the most seamless day ever. It was literally the best. So that's what I love most about them, the fact that they were organized and like on top of things. 10 out of 10 recommend finding a venue that is so on top of everything, because it just makes your day so much more stress-free and relaxing and just enjoyable for you. Okay, the next question was, did everything go as planned? So I am a very big planner, and I planned a lot down to little nitty-gritty details for this wedding. So clearly there are going to be some things that don't go as planned. And while we pretty much stuck to the plans like very, 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 very well, I was very impressed. I will say that like little things, like our photographer gave us a timeline, like down to like the minute of when we were going to be taking different pictures and stuff. We didn't follow her timeline. There were of course little things that went wrong, and like people had to go tend to different things, and so they weren't available for pictures, so we had to wait. So those little things, yes, but nothing like went so wrong that like the day was messed up or anything got like taken out. The only thing I will say that didn't go as planned is that I actually got sick on our wedding day. Like I still don't know what it was, a stomach bug, something. It wasn't COVID, but when the reception hit, started to feel very, very just like not myself, and I couldn't tell if I was nauseous, dizzy. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't drink a single thing at our wedding. I didn't eat any of the food at our wedding. I just felt like if I put anything in my body, I thought I was going to throw up or pass out or something. And then as soon as the reception ended and I went back to the hotel, I actually did end up fainting and getting sick like the rest of the night. So if anything didn't go as planned, it was that, I guess. That was the big thing that I was a little bit sad about. I still had the best day and I made the most of it. I'm so happy that like everything waited until I got back. It could have just been stress and like the letdown of like everything just kind of falling off of my chest. I mean, I had been so stressed leading up to it that maybe I just kind of like self-inflicted illness, but yeah, that was the only thing that really didn't go as planned, I guess. But someone did ask though, was there any wedding drama? So I guess this could kind of go with like things that aren't planned. Yes, not on the actual wedding day, but a couple days leading up to it. The only thing that happened was that I had a bridesmaid that decided not to be a part of our day anymore. And so I'm not going to go into details or anything. So we had a couple things to kind of figure out last minute, but honestly it worked out really well, and there weren't many changes at all that needed to be done to accommodate that, but everything was fine. And yeah, you know what? While situations like that kind of stink in the moment, just thank the Lord that they are not in the pictures that you took on the best day of your life, because you only want to have the most supportive and loving people in your pictures that you're going to remember. So just a little something if you're in a situation like that. Okay, the next one I have is favorite memory of the day. I've been asked this so many times and I literally can't think of one thing, but some of my favorite memories, I'll give you a few. One, of course, was seeing my husband at the end of the aisle. We did not do a first look, so I didn't see him ahead of time and he didn't see me. And so that was the first time that I got to see him, and it was just so special to see him all dressed up, and like he was so sad, well, happy tears, but like he was crying, and it was just like, I don't know, to see him up there just made me feel so much better, and like, it was great. Loved that moment. I did a first look with my dad, so I loved doing that with him. I felt like that was super special. I've never really seen my dad cry, and so to see him and like have a moment like that with him was just so, so, so special. And going along with my dad moments, our father-daughter dance, we actually did like a fun father-daughter dance where it kind of like broke out into like a little flash mob is what he called it in the middle of it, and that was so fun. The whole wedding party was involved and we just had a great time. It wasn't perfect, we are not professional dancers, but like the memories that we have and the videos that we have, I love watching them. I think that they're so funny. So I loved doing that. I loved doing it for my dad. He was super appreciative and it just made for a great memory. The last thing that I really loved that we did was our last dance. So everyone went out to do like the sparkler exits. Everyone was outside and George and I stayed inside the venue and we just kind of like danced together. And so it's funny because everyone thought, and you can totally do it this way, I mean it's beautiful. People, like our videographer and photographer, they all thought that we were gonna do like a super cute like little slow dance with like a cute little love song kind of thing. And we actually had picked the song Africa by Toto, which like is not, it's not like your typical little like slow dance wedding song, I guess, if you will. But the little backstory behind it was really cute because George had like, he just really wanted to use that song for something in the wedding. First he wanted to walk down the aisle to it, then he wanted to walk back up the aisle to it. And I just said like, no, I just don't think that that's really the vibe that we're going for. And I would really prefer not to use that as like our wedding ceremony song. And so I had surprised him. I told him I wanted to use this song and I hadn't really told him ahead of time that that's what we were doing. And so we just like danced and like had a blast just dancing around together. It was silly, it was fun, and we just had so much fun like de-stressing and just kind of like letting everything out at the end of the night together in that way. And I cannot wait to see the pictures and videos that come from that. I haven't gotten them back yet, so definitely a really great memory and something I recommend doing. One of my bridesmaids responded on Instagram as well, and she asked, did your husband rip his pants at your wedding? Yes, in fact, he did. He, like within 2 minutes of the dance floor opening, he went to drop it low and he dropped it a little too low and his pants ripped. So he actually swapped pants with another groomsman who just like went and changed into something else. So everything was fine, but it was really funny and definitely a good memory. Okay, another question we got was your wedding outside and what was the weather like? Oh, one of my biggest fears for this wedding was the weather because you can't control the weather. And we got married in April in Pennsylvania, so like that itself is unpredictable with rain. I mean, it's like the middle of spring and you just don't know. So we did get married outside. The weather was beautiful. I mean, literally perfect. It was a little bit windier, but like warmth wise, it was probably like high 60s. It was sunny. It was just gorgeous. So yes, we got to get married outside. Our venue did have an inside location for us to use if need be, so we had a backup, but I was just so excited to use the outdoor location, so very happy that that worked out. Somebody else asked, did you allow kids at your wedding? I'm just gonna say yes at this point. We don't have too many kids in our family, so most of our nieces and nephews were invited, but they were in the wedding, so that made sense. We did have a new nephew who was born like after we kind of like did the wedding party and everything, and he was just a couple months old. He did come, but he left early, like he didn't stay, he had someone take him. But other than that, we really didn't have any other kids. But honestly, I will say that the kids were the life of the party. I know it's, some people are like, no kids, I don't want anybody to, like, I don't want to have to worry about them. You know, it's not an environment for them, and that's totally your choice. Our nieces and nephews just brought so much light to the party. Like, there were dance circles around them. They were just like so in love with life at that moment of dancing on the dance floor. So it was really fun to have them there. Great memories. I don't regret doing that at all. Yeah, I don't know. Our personal preference was that we just wanted to have them there, so they were there. Somebody else asked about our presents. They asked if we had a present table or like displayed the presents out where all the guests had access to them and like what that situation was. We had a card box, so a box that had a lid that had a slit in it that the cards we dropped into, and it did have a little lock. And honestly, on the actual wedding day, more people brought cards as their gifts instead of like an actual physical present. People that were bringing or that got us a physical present, most of them actually sent that to our house ahead of time so they didn't have to lug it there, and I really appreciated that. Our big registry was on Amazon, but we also did a couple other places, and our address was hooked up to it. So anyone that bought a present, they had the option to ship it to our house. Loved that feature. So anyway, we had the card box, but then anyone that did bring a physical present, and we did get a couple, our venue, they were actually really good about keeping up with it. They would kind of take them from the people, or they would have them put them on a table, but then they would go right away and like take the present and put it in a room that was locked. So it was actually the getting ready room for the girls, but it was locked to the guests during the ceremony, so nobody had access to that room. So any present that was brought was put in a room that people couldn't get to. So it made us feel a lot better. It also made it just like a little bit more organized. I knew to just go in there at the end of the night and like grab everything. Not that we were nervous about people in our family or our friends taking anything, but that was just something that our venue does with all of their weddings, so we really appreciated that. Okay, and the last question that we got that I'm going to answer in this video is about our photographers. They asked how many photographers we had and how many do we recommend. We went through a company or a photographer that works with a backup photographer, so we actually had two, and it was really, really nice because one could go kind of hang out with the men and take pictures and stuff with them, one could hang out with the girls, and it just worked out that we could like take pictures at the same time. It saved on time and just really, I felt like, made the day go smoother. If you have a smaller wedding party, or maybe like have more time to get ready, or are taking pictures like like you actually have a block maybe in between your ceremony and your reception, it might not be as necessary to have two photographers. I just felt like for us and for kind of like our timeline that we had and the amount of people that we had, it was really nice to have the two. Especially because we didn't do a first look before our wedding, so George and I like couldn't take any pictures with each other ahead of time. If we were able to take pictures together and like the whole wedding party and stuff before the wedding, it probably could have worked with just one photographer, but because we decided to stay separate, it was really helpful to have the two. So kind of depends on the situation of your wedding, but I personally loved having two. They were both awesome to work with. I'm gonna have them linked down below too in case you are a Pennsylvania, Lancaster, York, Pennsylvania bride. All right, you guys, so that is it for the questions that I'm going to be answering today about our wedding. I hope it gave you a little bit of insight on some details, and just if you're wedding planning, hopefully it helped you think of some things that you might want to do or not do at your wedding. I was so happy with how the day turned out. I cannot express enough how beautiful and just perfect it was. So I'm so grateful and thankful. If you have any other questions about wedding day, rehearsal dinner, married life, all of that good stuff, leave them down in the comments below and I'd be happy to address some more. Don't forget to follow me over on Instagram as well, because I do answer questions on there too. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. Bye!